Amid Evil is the love child of Quake and Heretic that has definitely done a healthy amount of acid. A retro-style first-person shooter from New Blood Interactive, set in the cosmos where the gods once ruled and evil is rampant. Equipped with a battle axe and plenty of mana, you play as the Champion, a warrior who has come to rid the Seven Realms of an ancient evil corrupting them. Like Heretic, Amid Evil swaps out guns for magical weapons to root out the hordes of monsters and things. Whereas like Quake, there's a focus on movement, speed, and tight level design with a good dose of verticality. All of this makes for one hell of an eye-catching, fun, and outright trippy shooter that retains everything that was great about the past but forges its own unique path in the present. There's a lot to like in Amid Evil, and I'm going to touch on a great deal of it. But the first thing we gotta talk about is the weapon that shoots planets. This is the Celestial Claw, or as I like to call it, the Doomsday Stick. The Doomsday Stick snatches planets from the universe and shrinks them down so you can shoot them at your enemies. And yeah, in case you were wondering, it is possible to shoot and blow up the Earth. In fact, the game goes out of its way to let you know when you have. You would think a weapon of such monumental consequence would be the BFG type weapon, but nope, it's the rocket launcher and behaves just like one. The BFG is actually this mess of pink ribbons that zooms out an electro ball that disintegrates everything in its vicinity. That thing is a beast, but the Doomsday Stick might be the most metal weapon I've ever seen in a shooter. Your mystical arsenal basically behaves like firearms, but instead of bullets, they use magic! Or to be more accurate, mana. Blue mana encompasses the staff, which is essentially your pistol type, and a great little workhorse all around, and the trident, which shoots lightning. The closest thing I can compare this sucker to is the nail gun from Quake, as its fire rate and feel is almost identical. Plus, its lightning bolts can run through multiple enemies at a time, making it handy for mobs. Green mana feeds into the sword that shoots swords, also great for crowd control, and the spike ball that shoots spikes. Slow to fire, but able to impale most enemies in one hit if you're close enough. This is one of my favorites as it needs the most skill to use effectively, and once you get the hang of it, its rewards speak for themselves. Orange mana belongs to the Doomsday Stick, and purple is only for the BFG ribbon. Oh, and let's not forget the battle axe, which does what you expect and does it well. All of the weapons feel great to fire and are all equally useful, but in your first playthrough, you might feel that they are lacking in power, lacking in a little oomph. That's when you discover soul power. Hitting the alternate fire when your soul power fills up turns your weapons into unholy death machines for a limited amount of time. The axe turns into a spinning death saw, the staff gushes blue flame like a flamethrower, and the stick shoots suns instead of planets. In a game all about cosmic gods, soul power does a great job making you feel like one, but be careful about when you deploy it. You can't turn off soul power once it's activated, and it is very easy to waste. This can be a little annoying at times, but learning the levels better and getting more accustomed to the game will mitigate this. The beginning of Amid Evil flexes its influences right off the bat, throwing you into this stunning gateway world where you physically choose your difficulty by walking through its associated portal, just like in Quake. And yes, there is a secret difficulty hidden away somewhere, so keep your eyes peeled. While not all worlds are available right off the bat, you have the choice between a handful at the start. And once again, like Big Daddy Quake, the first world I visited harkened to dark medieval fantasy, but in this game's case, dark medieval fantasy with a lot of neon. The visuals in this game are deceptively retro and upfront gorgeous. Its amazing lighting and vistas will make you assume a more modern art style, but look close enough and you will see pixelated textures typical of a 90s first-person shooter. The enemies too are also made up of fairly simplistic polygons cobbled together to form an eye-catching and intimidating horde. In fact, look closely at the weapons. Those aren't 3D models, those are 2D sprites. As its developer would state, the idea of Amid Evil was to see what it would be like if FPS game developers from 20 years ago had access to the Unreal Engine 4. Well, here's the answer. A 50-50 mixture of old school and new school that produces some absolutely stunning levels that are a joy to shoot in. Medieval is all about keeping you moving at all times, but I don't mean in the sense of constantly circle strafing. A lot of the enemies fire projectiles that will force you to dodge and jump constantly, making combat far more twitchy and fun. They are also a tad smarter than your typical retro shooter enemy. Their sole strategy is to beeline it for you, but they will dodge your attacks and even block your projectiles with their own. You honestly have to outsmart some of these guys, and it's great for keeping the combat dynamic. They also navigate the levels effectively, jumping over obstacles and making jumps with ease. An impressive touch is that each world has its own unique set of enemies. The general types of enemies remain consistent. You are always going to have the smaller fodder that rushes you, projectile shooting ones, and flying ones. But there's enough of a switch up between each world that you will always have to relearn enemy behaviors and readjust your strategy. This is one of many things that keeps a Medieval from feeling stale. Each world ends with a larger-than-life boss battle that are actually pretty fun. I'm often critical of first-person shooter boss fights, but a Medieval manages to avoid my criticism, with battles that keeps the player moving, challenging them to learn attack patterns while being nimble with their AWSD keys. My favorite of the bunch, though, is this aquatic battle against two sea serpents in an arena that reminds me a lot of a blitzball stadium. It's wicked stuff. Playing through my first two worlds, I massacred multitudes of monsters, oscillating between close-quarter skirmishes and wide-open savagery. There's nothing boring about these levels, nothing redundant or mundane. Get done with one battle and start figuring out a switch puzzle. Or, hey, maybe come across a platforming section in a hallway of spikes. With my second world conquered, I hopped through the gateway to my third world, the Arcane Expanse. Alright, what sort of celestial horror and carnage awaits me here? Whoa. This world is really where you start to see the visual and audible range this game has. I mean, take the music here. No synths, no guitar, no low rumble ambiance. Piano. Like, somber piano. This is the same composer as Dusk, right? Oh, yeah, it definitely is. Damn. Visually, it's this dim, surreal, but calming landscape with floating buildings and intricate architecture. Repetitive patterns on the walls and floors, complete with stained glass windows. I feel like I saw this world before in a Myst game. I love everything about this level, about this world. It looks absolutely incredible. And the music, once again, the music. See, much like New Blood's other game, Dusk, a Medieval has this quality of hitting all the right notes of what you expect and hope for out of a 90s style shooter, but then finds avenues where it can transcend its influences and be its own thing. And from this world on through the rest of the game, a Medieval works its ass off to keep topping itself in terms of visual presentation and gameplay. I don't have many complaints when it comes to a Medieval, and the ones I do have are nitpicks and straight-up subjectivity. Graphically, you might notice little slivers of geometry streaming in late, which can break the immersion. I'm also not a big fan of this crazy red squirrely border that fills your screen at critical health. A red flickering light in the corner is enough, or just have my character start breathing heavy. The fish enemies aren't super fun either. They chase you in the water relentlessly and swim a lot faster. You're guaranteed to lose health in almost every encounter, regardless of what you do. It would also have been cool to see storytelling devices other than text written on the wall. And jumping is a hair on the floaty side, making some of the more precise platforming more difficult than it should be. Otherwise, this is a shooter that checks all my boxes and checks them good. So yeah, play this game, it's great. If you're a 90s shooter fan, this should already be installed on your hard drive. And if you're less experienced or new to the genre, this is a great title to get yourself familiar. And for gamers without a PC to play this on, well, a Medieval is coming to the Nintendo Switch sometime this year. So be sure to check back to this channel to get my thoughts on that. Before we wrap up, be sure to leave me a comment telling me your thoughts on a Medieval and if you are excited for the Switch port. Also, let me know what your favorite New Blood game is. Mine is still Dusk, but a Medieval is a close second. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. It is a huge help for this channel. I post videos every Thursday, so be sure to ring that bell so you are the first to see them. I'm Kirk, and thank you for watching this video. Stay safe out there.